What if the most dangerous criminal organization in London was hiding in plain sight behind silk veils and floral perfume? In the 1910s, Alice Diamond led the 40 Elephants, an all-female gang who sewed secret pockets into their skirts to shoplift diamonds and luxury goods. This was not a small-time operation, but a tactical revolution that left London's finest investigators baffled for decades. The group operated with a level of discipline and secrecy that puts modern syndicates to shame, yet their most ingenious trick was hidden in their very clothing. But there is a specific clue in their wardrobe that authorities missed for years, a detail that explains how they could walk away with a fortune in 30 seconds. By the end of this case file, you will understand the one oversight by the police that allowed these women to vanish into the fog of London. Let us look at the evidence and step back into a decade where the lines between high society and the underworld were as thin as a lace handkerchief. To understand the 1910s, you have to feel the soot of old London, a city caught between Victorian tradition and the explosive energy of the new century. The cultural vibe was one of strict social hierarchies, where a woman's presence in a luxury store was rarely questioned if she looked the part. But for the detectives at Scotland Yard, the city was becoming a playground for a new kind of criminal who knew exactly how to use these social biases. Alice Diamond looked at the luxury districts not as a shopper, but as a master tactician who identified the greatest weakness of the era, the assumption of innocence. She realized that in a world where men made the rules, the person who could move through a jewelry store without suspicion held the ultimate power over the inventory. The key players in the gang were chosen for their poise and their ability to blend into the upper class, appearing as wealthy socialites or refined ladies. They were not looking for trouble. They were looking for a specific type of silk or a particular cut of stone, all while their hidden pockets were being filled. This mattered because it was not just theft. It was a psychological infiltration of the city's elite spaces, making the wealthy feel vulnerable in their own sanctuaries. The rise of the 40 Elephants was a calculated response to the economic pressures of the time and the limited opportunities for women in the working class. As we move into the timeline of the investigation, the files reveal a series of thefts starting in 1912 that left store managers in a state of absolute shock. It began with reports of the vanishing jewels, where high-end items would disappear from counters, even while staff were standing right in front of them. Upon closer inspection of these early reports, detectives noticed something strange. The suspects were always described as the most well-behaved customers. These were not the desperate characters the police were used to chasing. These were women who spoke with perfect accents and wore the latest fashions. By mid-1914, the frequency of these coordinated raids increased significantly, creating a climate of total paranoia among the merchants of the West End. The investigation timeline shows a critical turning point when a discarded coat was found in a back alley, but it appeared perfectly normal at first glance. Instead, when an officer happened to shake the garment, he heard the faint clinking of metal and glass coming from the inner lining. Authorities began to realize they were not dealing with individuals, but a highly organized guild with Alice Diamond at the helm. Every garment used was custom-tailored in secret workshops, designed to carry the weight of dozens of items without sagging or changing shape. The police began to focus on the hidden clues in the tailoring, wondering how a woman could carry 5 pounds of silver without a single person noticing. They discovered that Alice had invented a system of internal pulleys and reinforced seams that distributed weight across the hips and shoulders. This was a detail the public missed. The elegant silhouette of a lady was actually a mobile storage unit capable of holding a small treasury. The files reveal that Alice had a specific preference for heavy furs and thick velvet, materials that would muffle the sound of items touching each other. Investigators also found that the gang often used look-alike decoys, where 2 women in identical outfits would enter a store from different doors. As the deep investigation continued, a pattern of the silent exchange emerged, where a stolen item would be passed between 3 women in seconds. It was a masterclass in diversion, keeping the floor walkers focused on the woman, asking questions while the diamonds moved toward the exit. But as we look closer at the dark psychology of this period, we have to ask what drives a person to create such a clinical system of deception. Alice Diamond's behavior was not just about wealth. It was about a deep-seated desire for autonomy in a society that gave her very little. Psychologists who have studied her leadership style suggest she possessed a high level of social intelligence, allowing her to manipulate perceptions with ease. She viewed the shopping districts as a stage, and every member of the 40 Elephants was an actress playing a role to perfection. This psychological concept of hiding in the open explains why she chose high fashion. She knew the law was blinded by the sparkle of the surface. The women she recruited were often those who had been overlooked or underestimated by the system, giving them a sense of belonging and a secret life. By analyzing her recruitment style, detectives found she was looking for women with steady hands and the ability to maintain eye contact under pressure. This created a bond of loyalty that was nearly impossible to break, as her gang felt they were reclaiming a world that had ignored them. However, the twist in this case does not come from a dramatic chase, but from the quietest of observations made by an observing clerk. While the police were obsessing over the jewelry and the women, they failed to notice the pattern of the emptied carriage waiting outside. Upon closer inspection of the street logs, a specific carriage with no passengers was spotted idling near every store shortly before a theft occurred. This was the mobile vault, the place where the stolen goods were deposited immediately after the women walked through the doors. The irony was that while the police were searching the women inside the stores, the evidence was already sitting in a carriage 20 feet away. This need for immediate disposal was Alice's tactical signature, a rule that ensured no member was ever caught with the goods on their person. In 1916, the authorities shifted their entire focus away from the counters and toward the street traffic waiting outside the luxury shops. This forced a major shift in organized crime investigations, moving from reactive policing to proactive monitoring of the support networks. They realized that Alice Diamond was the architect, and the fashion was merely the tool. To stop the theft, they had to break the logistics. The investigation finally narrowed down to a small tailoring shop on the outskirts of the city where the secret pockets were being manufactured. Even under pressure, Alice maintained her composure, never once betraying the women who worked under her command. When the law finally caught up with her, there was no confession or apology. There was only a woman who knew she had changed the game. The lingering mystery remains how much of their stolen treasure is still hidden in the floorboards of old London houses today. Some believe the secret pocket technique never truly left, but evolved into modern methods used by sophisticated theft rings globally. The clues were always there, hidden in the drape of a skirt and the confident stride of a woman who refused to be poor. If you look at the old architectural plans of London's shopping arcades today, you can see the defensive changes made because of Alice's gang. The legend of the 40 Elephants is a chilling reminder that the most effective disguises are the ones society expects us to wear. To mark this piece of evidence in our collective file, make sure to like the video so we know which leads to follow next. What do you think was the most ingenious part of Alice Diamond's operation? Comment your theory below to help the squad solve the puzzle. To access the next case file and continue the investigation into the world's most baffling mysteries, make sure you are subscribed to the unit. We are constantly scanning the archives for hidden details that the public missed, and we need every detective on the team to stay sharp. Upon closer inspection of our upcoming files, we have found a connection between an old London cold case and a modern mystery. The deeper you look, the more you realize that no case is ever truly closed. It just waits for the right investigator to look again. The files reveal that even the most meticulous planners leave a trail, whether it is a reinforced scene or a carriage that stays too long. As we close the folder on the 40 elephants for today, remember that the most beautiful things can hide the darkest secrets. The investigation continues in the next briefing, where we will look at a mystery involving a clock that stopped at the exact moment of a disappearance. Every detail matters, from the thread used in a pocket to the way a suspect holds their tea. Do not let the trail go cold. Stay tuned for the next update from headquarters. The psychological profile of Alice Diamond is a study in how power can be seized by those who understand human bias. By understanding her methods, we understand the evolution of the criminal mind and the birth of modern forensic investigation. This has been a deep dive into the 1910s, a decade of elegance, shadow, and the woman who sewed them together. The detectives of that era learned the hard way that beauty can be a shield and wealth can be a mask. Keep your eyes open and your mind focused on the details that others choose to ignore. The next case is already unfolding, and we need you ready to pick apart the evidence. History is written by those who are caught, but the truth belongs to those who know where to look. We will find that truth, one file at a time, together as a dedicated detective squad. The carriages have stopped rolling, but the mystery of Alice Diamond's secret empire remains a fascinating puzzle for us all. Are you ready to open the next drawer in the evidence room? Make sure your notifications are on so you do not miss the call to action for the next briefing. The investigation is ongoing, and your input is vital to the team. End of briefing for today.